All right, then let's go. Alicia and Reenie here, out for a walk. Reenie is my little best dog friend. She is a scruffy terrier schnauzer mix. This is Sustainable Events Dog Walk, a short podcast from Positive Impact Event Consulting, where you can get a quick nugget about sustainability for your events and event business while on a walk with Alicia and her dog Reenie. Sustainability is a big project, but we'll get there together, one little step at a time. Here we are. Summer solstice has passed. It's time for summertime activities and outdoor events. So let's talk about outdoor events and just do a quick 4 pillars pass to look at which areas we can affect when we're looking at sustainability for environmental, community and social, personal health and well-being, and economics for outdoor events. Okay, let's walk. Come on. So let's start. First pillar, environmental. You're not going to be surprised to hear this. The big areas to consider here are going to be your trash, waste, and your power. So first of all, let me just throw out some ideas for you for power. When you are securing, if you need generators, if you need outdoor power, things like that, inquire with whoever is providing that to make sure you have a newer, cleaner. If you're using diesel power, see what they have in battery operated supplies, things that might not need as much power. Try to reduce those gunky, noisy, terrible generators whenever possible. And also, did you know that there are solar and wind generators that you can get for temporary sites depending on the volume of power that you need? So of course, my advice always is to work with your expert who actually knows what they have in stock and what your needs are. But asking these questions, how can we be creative? If possible, can we power areas that are less sensitive off of smaller power sources? And in my opinion, much like getting junky cars off the road, we should be able to pretty quickly support the companies around us who rent out this sort of equipment in switching over to cleaner, less stinky, terrible generators anyway, just through demand and talking with them about it, you know? And the other thing, waste, of course, reduce, reuse, recycle. The first thing you can do is bring less trash on site, and you're having to dispose of less trash. Prioritizing, letting vendors know that you would like package-free options for whatever it is that they're bringing on site, things like pre-wrapped food and knickknacks. And of course, the temptation is going to be to go with compostable and disposable plates and cups and those sorts of things. And this is where I think you're really going to benefit from places like Bold Reuse, who have plastic rentals. There's even plastic rentals from some of your big rental companies to get outdoor and camp-friendly plates and cups and all that sort of jazz that are still washable, still retrievable, so that you're not having to handle loads and loads of garbage at the end, and they're also going to have a nicer experience. But just remember, if you are doing compostable and also having garbage on site, you need to have a way to sort that, because contaminated compost is trash. It also is a difference between food waste and commercial composting. So if your plates and cups that you're selecting require commercial composting, then you need to make sure that the waste retrieval is able to get that to a commercial composter. Next, we talk community and social. This is your inclusivity, diversity, equity, and accessibility. Obviously, on an outdoor site, accessibility is going to be a really big deal. Having walkways that are clear, making sure if you are in a cityscape that you are keeping the ramps from the sidewalks available for ingress and egress, making sure you have consideration for sun protection and oases for people who need to rest out of the sun. In terms of diversity and equity, there's a lot of natural hidden bias that we as a society in the United States have about what types of people are meant to be or invited outdoors.
So making sure to be considerate of overcoming your biases in your marketing and communication recruitment of vendors or sponsors or market booths or however you're working, even bands for your music festival, to make sure that you are not running the mental thought process of, oh, they wouldn't want to come, I shouldn't invite them. That's a really dangerous presumption. By the time you've thought, oh, let's consider this person, let them choose whether or not they want to be where you're inviting. Try not to let those presumptions get through, because it's a really dangerous thing that's rooted back to Black African slavery and then all of the subsequent racist and discriminating policies throughout time since then, that outdoor and public spaces are only suited for certain types of people, and that the privilege of being outdoors and the beauty of nature are reserved for the fancy or the rich or the appropriate or the etc., all like that. So especially during the summer when we start seeing a lot of great visibility movements like Black Birders Week and these sorts of Black science movements that go to show the difficulty that people have accessing outdoor activities and resources because of these cultural biases. Just try to jump in and catch yourself having those types of thoughts. Also, there's lots of ways to educate yourself on reducing your cultural biases. Next up, personal health and well-being. This is all about the individual health of any person who's at your event, be they staff or attendee. Obviously, the first thing I'm going to say is access to water. We're not Las Vegas. We can't get away from putting people out in the sun and the elements and not giving them water. If you are in an outdoor place such as a public park or a big festival environment, you'll most likely have to balance out the disposability and accessibility and having water stations that are shaded and prepared. But very important to have access. Preferably the bottles you're giving people are refillable so that there's a lot of ease. Try not to do a tiny cup station. Such a big pain, and it encourages people to limit the amount of water they're having. And with hydration comes bathrooms, making sure that you've got appropriate coverage in your space for restrooms. And we'll take this section for a small little tidbit that is the kind of info that I don't usually get to put in for events-based conversation for an environmentalism point as well. When you are looking at sunscreen, fun fact that a lot of people don't fully understand, reef-safe sunscreen is sunscreen made without the microchemicals that were invented, I assume, in the 60s and 70s, like everything else bad for the environment. The reason it's important to use reef-safe sunscreen everywhere all the time, not simply when you are going to the ocean, is because when you shower later, as you rinse off the sunscreen, it goes into the water supply no matter where you are, and all water supplies are eventually connected. And it's about keeping that microchemistry that is bad for coral reefs and other marine life out of the water supply completely. So every time you think, oh, I don't need a reef-safe sunscreen because I'm not going to swim on the reef, is a misnomer. So as you run out of your conventional sunscreen, consider buying a mineral sunscreen. They're getting better and better all the time. That zinc white fade is much more uncommon these days. Make sure you wear sunscreen. There's time for your people to reapply sunscreen. Protect yourself from the sun. All people of all skin colors and types need to protect themselves from the UV rays of the sun. Use sunscreen. The sun is out to get you. And lastly is economic. I'm going to say with your outdoor events from an economic perspective, one of the most important things that you can do is not do harm. If you are going to be doing a street festival, make sure that everyone in that street understands what's going on. If you're doing a music festival, make sure that you are incorporating the nearby towns who are going to be overrun with people stopping for gas or snacks. And the likelihood is, if it's a long-running event, then those communities are accustomed to that. But work in conjunction with your communities. Pay attention to the fact that you will have an impact on the economy and make that impact intentional if possible. Of course, you constantly hear me say with economics to source from the local economy, support diverse vendors in your economy and in your network. But yeah, practicing being conscientious and not harming is also a great choice for things like this, where it might be sort of passive to the nearby communities where you're doing your event. So there you have it. I hope your summer solstice was lovely and that you enjoy as sunset starts to go earlier again. And I'll see you back here next week for more tips, tricks, ideas, recommendations, referrals, and philosophy on sustainability in events. Have a great week.
Thanks for joining me on Sustainable Events Dog Walk. I'm Alicia Drewby, founder of Positive Impact Event Consulting, and I want to help you integrate sustainability into your event business so you're ready to make every event you work on more sustainable. See you next time.